All right, school is done. Summer is upon us. I apologize for being inactive lately. I know I haven't uploaded in like over a month. I don't think I even uploaded a single video at all in May. But school is school, but that's done now. It's over, it's summer. And that means we are back. We are pretty much back in business and expect to see videos much more often. I figured we might as well just start checking out some new releases again and start doing reviews on albums. I know I kind of said maybe like I was gonna stop doing reviews, but then it's like, you know what? Why not? I just figured, why not? I enjoy doing this, and plus, it's a great way to discover new bands as opposed to just listening to the same bands all the time. This weekend, we saw two major new releases. The second one I'll cover, but the first one is an absolutely killer album. We have the new self-titled album by Rivers of Nihil. These guys, Rivers of Nihil, are like, if you don't really know about them, they're part of that like semi-new sort of wave of progressive death metal bands, like maybe take Fallujah or Blood Incantation. They're sort of like an old school revival, but they also like push some boundaries. Rivers of Nihil in particular have mainly done this by adding saxophone solos into metal. I mean, who would have thought? But also infusing plenty of clean, like sing-along choruses, so as to not really box themselves too much into one metal genre. They have as much like progressive elements as they do death metal, and they don't just fit squarely into progressive death metal. And this probably pissed off some elitists, sure, but for the most part, Rivers of Nihil have been one of like the most acclaimed newer acts in death metal, as well as progressive metal, and their 2018 breakout LP, Where Owls Know My Name, was again like kind of their breakthrough, and it was very, very widely praised. Often even called like one of the best albums of that year. And Rivers of Nihil, I mean, they just continue to prove why they're one of the most genuinely exciting bands to come out of metal in the last decade with this new record, because wow, it is fantastic. The band had some lineup shuffling between this and their last record, The Work, which saw the loss of vocalist Jake Diefenbach and guitarist John Topore, and bassist Adam Biggs stepped in for lead vocals rather than just the band outright replacing Diefenbach and adding a new vocalist in. And this approach really didn't seem to affect the quality of the music, because not only is this record fantastic, this might just be one of the best albums of 2025 that I've heard so far. The record really just sounds like its cover, like almost uplifting in a sense, but not too optimistic, especially with tracks like American Death that I'll get to in a bit. The band has this sort of blend of old school death metal, tech death, prog metal, and melodeath that just all comes together in this like near perfect storm of an album that not only feels career defining, but captivating, cathartic, grandiose, and just awesome in almost every conceivable way. Like, the problem with so many modern tech death bands, and to be fair, this has actually pretty much plagued the genre since its inception, such as like, I don't know, Archspire or the Zenith Passage, is just the sheer focus on, well, technicality. Not that these bands are really bad per se. I mean, I can get behind some of their music, but it just can get incredibly stale to listen to. Instrumentation that is just so technical that it borders on the masturbatory. The same can be said with a good amount of prog metal bands. I mean, even like the most well-known ones like Dream Theater have this exact issue. But Rivers of Nihil strikes that perfect balance of skill and technicality, and the ability to just create these pieces that feel just epic, mesmerizing, and just dripping with atmosphere, while still retaining that sort of sonic brutality that just brings everything all together. And the best part? These guys don't fall into the trap of mindless solos or elongated song structures that are way too bloated for their own good. I mentioned Dream Theater, and I like those guys a lot, but man, they have plenty of albums that are just so goddamn bloated, it is like, it's not even funny. Rivers of Nihil, they waste no time bringing you right into the action with openers, the Suborbital Blues, which after a short little intro, has an incredibly fitting verse that hooks the listener right into the album. Can you see it? Believe me that our dreams will orbit the earth forever. I don't know, man, just those lines just feel super fitting for an album opener. Just the overall vibe of the track is like super enticing, and when it's over, it feels like, oh man, we're just getting started here. We got a whole rest of the album to listen to. It's just, yeah. The album is just truly all killer, no filler, all the way through. The songs don't feel bloated in any sense, and everything feels just as long as it needs to be. There's no random ambient sections that interrupt the flow of the songs, Looking at You, Sleep Token. There's no stupid little interlude or instrumental tracks that do nothing but bloat the album's length and serve no musical purpose. No, there's just 10 straight songs here, filled to the brim with dynamic and almost ethereal textures and some crushing riffs to boot. The choruses, man. The choruses on this album hit fucking hard as balls. I mentioned Suborbital Blues, but man, just listen to Criminals, Despair Church, House of Light, The Logical End, and especially American Death, and try not to sing along or just feel some sort of cathartic release. Speaking of which, American Death is by far my favorite track on the album. The chorus is just impeccable, a feeling like, well, a call to arms of some sorts. Or as new guitarist Andy Thomas pointed out in an interview, it feels like an 80s rock chorus, think like Living Colour or something like that. But even beyond that, it's a vicious, brutal assault on American culture and its obsession with violence and just capitalism and the corrupt political system as a whole. The album as a whole feels like it has something for everyone in terms of death metal or like progressive metal. You like genre blending? Give a listen to Water and Time, which almost seamlessly blends electronic 808 beats with his style and feels way more authentic than like a supposedly genre blending band like Sleep Token. Yes, I will roast Sleep Token at any opportunity that I can get. I am that petty, deal with it. Want just straight up blasting death metal assaults with no clean singing? Duskman and Evidence do exactly that, ensuring that Rivers of Nile haven't fully disconnected from their roots. The production on the album is top notch as well. I mean, I just love how like almost warm everything sounds, which is not how I thought I'd be describing death metal, but which is usually a pretty cold genre, but here we are. I would normally fault like the super modern and compressed drums, and I will admit, yeah, it's kind of an issue, I guess, but I can honestly excuse it here because it seems to fit the vibe pretty well. And this is really just a problem just across the board in a lot of modern rock and metal, not just exclusive to Rivers of Nile in any sense. The instruments are all balanced super well with nothing droning out anything else. You can clearly hear all of the guitar riffs, the bass, drum parts. It's just like this perfect balance. I mean, just wow. I've never really heard a lot of Rivers of Nile before, but this was an impulse listen that I definitely do not regret. The album alone just warrants a deep dive into the rest of their catalog for me, which I will definitely do over the coming days. The only fault I'd maybe give is the last track, which is Rivers of Nile by Rivers of Nile on the album Rivers of Nile. I mean, it's not bad, not in the slightest, but I do feel it is a little short. Like, it being the last track on the album, it just feels a tad underwhelming. Like, we get this one, like, semi-chorus, and then it just sort of ends, and then the album's over. I don't know, I feel it could have been just a little longer. But other than that, I see legitimately no flaws with this thing. I think so far, this is my favorite album of the year, and I will definitely be checking out the rest of Rivers of Nile's discography because of this. And there we go, that's really all I have to say about the album. It's incredible. Go listen to it if you haven't already, even if you've never heard Rivers of Nile before. This is, just go ahead and jump into it. You will definitely not regret it. This is by far one of the best releases of the year, in my opinion, and definitely the best release worth checking out this weekend. As far as the other album that I mentioned that I would review this weekend, here it is. It's the new album by Swans, Birthing. Swans are just a band that I just started to get into kind of recently over the past few months, and the album Birthing, they just dropped this past Friday as well, which I will definitely get into. It's a 2-hour opus, and which is pretty typical for Swans, so I'm definitely interested in checking that out. Other than that, that's about it. So I will see you all in that review, and then hopefully in some videos in the future as well.